Hi guys, and welcome back to our channel. This week we're going to be talking about how to grow a jungle garden. So Chris is really into his tropical / jungle gardening and has been for quite a few years now, and has successfully grown one of the best gardens I've ever seen. And I'm not just saying that because he's my brother.
You're gonna make me cry.
But it really is a fantastic garden. It's had a lot of recognition from different sources. It's been in Daily Star, and it's been on the
Daily
Mail
Star,
Online,
local newspapers.
local newspapers. It's had loads of interest from different people and stuff. He also does a lot to support WWF as well, and opens his garden during the summer, which I think you're doing again this year, aren't you?
Yeah, we've got 2 dates planned, but we'll put those up near the time.
Brilliant. So yeah, we're going to talk about how to grow a jungle garden in kind of a UK average size garden, really. Yep. So you haven't got the biggest of gardens, have you?
No, my garden's funny the way it's situated. If you've seen back on other videos, you'll know that my jungle area is probably about, I think probably 6 metres by 12 metres. It's in a funny L shape, and we've also got the patio area, and then it goes down the side of the house, which is where the greenhouse and the lily will be grown. So it's kind of like 3 different areas, but weird shapes. It's a bit of a Tetris kind of garden. But yeah, the jungle section itself isn't that big at all. So yeah, it's more than doable for most people watching this channel.
Yeah, and what excuse me, and what you've done with that space is just amazing. So when you walk up through is it an iron gate?
Yeah,
so when you walk up through the black iron gate into the jungle area at the top, like you say, it's a relatively small area of your garden, but my God, like, does it feel big when you're in there, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, this will be one of the points I'm going to make later. Is the depths in borders. Now, it completely immerses you, doesn't it? You can't really see the perimeter fences, especially at night time when it's dark. You lose all concept of where you are, and it's just it's insane how easy and how quickly you can get that effect from relatively cheap plants and in a real short space of time.
Yeah, it's like an experience, isn't it?
It is a little bit.
It is.
Not necessarily a good one.
So what would you suggest kind of doing first? So let's strip it back to basics. Say, for example, you've just moved into a property. It's a pretty blank canvas. What do you do?
I think this goes with any garden that you're doing, be it tropical, desert or arid, cottage like yourself. You've got to work out what the garden's doing, i.e. what the weather pattern. So the position of the sun, whether you've got a north-facing garden, east-facing garden, etc. Whether you're in damp ground, damp shade, what your soil type is. So spend a few months, if you are new to the property, figuring out the basics of what I've just said. It will save you a lot of money in the long run, and it'll just make for an easier way. You know, if you've got half an idea of what you're doing and what you're planting into, it's a good idea.
And if you've got, say for example, me as a complete novice wanted to start a tropical garden and the soil type wasn't right, or obviously you would then do something about that in terms of if you want a specific plant, you would then do your research to know what soil type you'll need
exactly
for
that
area of the garden, etc.
If you're talking specific plants, like Ollie said, do a bit of Googling, do a bit of research and figure out what soil type they do best in. A lot of these tropical plants do well in all soils. So yeah, do a little bit of reading, do a little bit of research, because it will pay.
And obviously, like you say, save you a lot of money and hassle in the long run.
Yeah, but as a basic answer, adding composts, mulches, leaf matter, that sort of thing, it's all beneficial to the soil. It's obvious beginners gardening.
Yeah. So you've learnt your garden. You know what is what in terms of when the sun comes round, at what point, where your shady areas are, where your hot points are, etc., etc. What next?
Well, this is the thing that I did back to front. Now, I did all my planting, got the garden looking roughly how I wanted it to look, and then worked out where my pathways were going to be. I would advise to work out where your pathways are going to be first. Now, I've got boardwalks in my jungle garden, haven't I?
Yeah.
So there's no lawn, there's no like shingle pathways or anything like that. It's just timber boardwalks, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I would advise, definitely doing your pathways first. Work out where you want the garden to go and where you want it to flow, and then you can kind of go from there. It's a good backbone, or a good, a skeletal way of starting to plan your garden.
Yeah, I saw something similar with a cottage gardener the other day that done the same thing. They wanted a brick pathway as a central sort of focal point for their cottage garden, and they did the pathways first and then the borders after. So would you then do the borders once the pathways are kind of set, would you then go to sort of how big your borders are going to be or what's going in
Yeah,
there?
I mean, there's no right or wrong way to do this. It's just I'm talking from my experience, and I wish, or I will do in my next garden. I'll do it round the other way. But like I say, get your pathways in, work out where you want those, and then I think you'll start to figure out what plants you want to go in what areas, and you'll start to get a feel of the garden almost immediately.
Yeah.
So yeah, the next thing would be to mark out your borders once you work out where your paths are. Now, I've said this in numerous podcasts and videos, and it goes for any sort of gardening really. The wider and the deeper you can get your borders, the better the effect will be, whether it be cottage or tropical yourself.
Yeah.
If you've got real slim borders, it gives you real difficulties in bulking out and getting the effect you need, especially with a jungle garden. So yeah, the wider you can get your borders, the better from the start.
Yeah. Just out of interest, just off piste a little bit, in terms of like the canopy that you've created, because you're now able to do a lot of sort of underplanting and stuff, aren't you? How long do you reckon it would take before you can realistically look at getting a canopy to the point where you're like, yes, this is looking like...
Yeah, depending on what trees you grow. Now, a lot of people grow the paulownias for the bigger leaves. Now, they'll coppice those year 1, year 2, and they'll let them just grow for one season and then they'll be coppiced again. I've grown mine, and there's 2 in the garden now, for the canopy. Now, they're one of, I think, either the fastest growing plant tree in the world or one of.
Yeah.
I mean, you've seen that in 4 years.
Amazing,
it's a full tree, isn't it? But on a garden of that scale, like a small garden, you only need one or 2 small trees to create that canopy effect.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, because you've walked up there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it feels like you've got a full canopy.
Yeah.
And that is just one tree.
Yeah.
So yeah, it doesn't take long at all.
So realistically, a few years, and you're looking at something that really would start to look like
4 to 5 years.
Yeah. And what about, so you get, if you walk through your garden in the height of summer, it looks fantastic. If you walk around your garden in the depths of winter, it still looks amazing.
Yeah,
where does that come from?
That was a bit of a fluke actually. It's not all skill. I think the important thing is once you've got your paths and the backbone of your garden planned, you need to work out where you're going to put your evergreens. Now, you don't have to have evergreens. Evergreens are a great addition to the jungle garden, and there's some really cool ones. We did a video on evergreens, didn't we? So look back on there for the plants that we grow. But I would advise, if you are going to have evergreens, to dot them around kind of evenly. Don't just have them in one corner or along one back border or something like that.
Yeah.
Dot them around because they are a great addition to the summer planting as well. Not just over winter.
And then I suppose it gives you that year-round interest as you walk around.
Exactly that.
Yeah. So yeah, great advice there about putting the evergreens in different places.
Regarding the borders, try not to. I mean, it depends whether you want a regimented tropical garden or whether you're going for a full-out jungle garden. Now, I know a lot of people are trying to get that jungle look.
Yeah.
So I'd advise, if you are doing your borders, use rustic materials, i.e. rocks or big logs or things like that are going to be in keeping into the garden. It makes a massive difference. And once like the mosses and things like that, they start taking over, and it really does add to the effect. 100%.
Yeah. It knits it all together, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And what about sort of you don't necessarily succession plant, do you, with your jungle or tropical?
I don't know. No.
But what, in terms of colour and stuff in your garden, you use different, not always traditional kind of jungle or tropical plants, don't you, to get that colour? Yeah,
you kind of. I mean, there's 2 ways of doing it. You either use foliage, or you can use flowers, or you can do both. Now, with my garden, if you do too much of both, it takes away that effect. It doesn't look silly, but it retracts from what it should look like. And the message you're trying to get across. Now, because I raise money for the WWF, you try to get it as close as damn it to as a rainforest as you can.
Yeah.
So yeah, just go a little bit easy with the colours. I mean, they're your gardens. You can do whatever you like. You can, plant what you want. And
again, it's trial and error.
But yeah, just little pops of colour. Find the small flowers. The cannas are great. They do better in the sun, which is mine's now shade. So I'm probably going to have to rethink things like that. It's forever changing, as you'll find out. But yeah, just do a little bit more research on colours and flowers and plants.
Yeah. So what can you sort of, because obviously I'm growing now a lot from seed. which is obviously going to be help my garden burst into colour during the sort of late spring, summer months. But with regards to growing stuff from seed with tropical garden or jungle garden vibes, what are you growing? Are you growing anything from seed this year?
Yeah, so the canners, a lot of canners from seed this year. There are other things that I will be ordering in. I want to do a bit more research on more shade-loving flowers.
Yeah,
I think canners will probably be used in the front and the fronts of the borders where they can pick up a bit more light. But yeah, I mean, like I say, do some more reading, find out what you can grow and what suits your garden and your style. And I mean, the list is endless.
Yeah,
absolutely endless.
It's a really good,
but
cost-effective.
It's a great money saver.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, and you've got canners on the go now, haven't you? Lots of them.
Yeah, lots of canners. Yeah,
seed. Yeah. So we've talked about rocks and like areas that you can knit the garden together with, the rustic kind of looking stuff. The rope in your jungle garden just makes it look more like a jungle garden, doesn't it? The rope along the boardwalks and things like that.
Yeah, the rope's a great addition. And I've seen a lot of people on various Facebook sites and things going down the rope look, and it does. Yeah, if you can find some rope, it's a great.
It
great
just
addition.
makes it look more like a yeah. I suppose because in the jungles and the tropical areas of the world, you do get those like rope bridges and stuff like that, don't you? Yeah.
It's a good time now to add, if you are going to have water and ponds and things like that, do it now before you put too many plants in.
Yeah.
Because I made that mistake in certain areas where I looked at the garden and I thought it's missing something. There's too much foliage there. It needs something else to break it. And it ended up being a small pond. Yeah. And it looked great. So if you can get a few little ponds, and they haven't got to be deep ponds, they haven't got to be huge ponds, just little areas of water with, surrounded by rocks or logs or something. The wildlife comes in, and it just makes the garden look so much better. And if you can hear water, all the better.
Yeah.
If you've got a little waterfall or even just a little, solar panelled water fountain.
Yeah.
It's great.
It adds to that experience, like we were saying earlier. Yeah. And as it happens, talking about nature, we've got a little bit of news, haven't we, about that regarding we've been picked up by an online source, haven't we, and talking about your garden.
We have, yeah. Dirt News. Now, I don't know too much about them. I'm going to go and do some research, but they've written an article about my rainforest garden for the WWF. Now, I don't know too much about it. I need to, like I say, speak to a few more guys about it and find out what's exactly going on. But it's a great little article. So I'll put the link in the description, and I'll also put it up on the screen if you're watching on TV as well. So go and have a little read, because there's some great pictures.
And that talks about your little ecosystem that you've created in your garden, doesn't it?
Yeah, there's some good pictures as well to have a look at. So go and have a look.
Yeah, brilliant. The other thing is, obviously, you love your houseplants as well, don't you?
Yeah.
And I know you take some of your houseplants out into your garden for the duration of the summer months, or?
Depends what the weather's doing. Depends what the season's doing. But yeah, once it's about above 15, 16 degrees, all the houseplants will come out. Now, I love my monsteras, and they're a huge addition to my jungle garden. And I put up with quite a bit of weather as well in the UK. So yeah, it's great if you can add monsteras. They grow really fast.
Yeah.
They can survive. Well, I've had them down to a couple of nights, almost zero.
Yeah.
So they're fine at 5 degrees. Long term, I don't know. I haven't done it. Haven't tried it yet. But yeah, houseplants are a great addition, and it really does finishes it off.
Yeah.
If you are going for a full tropical rainforest rather than a temperate rainforest, include some houseplants, because there's some really, really cool ones.
I've got an aloe that you gave me a few years ago.
Stratula.
Possibly.
Yeah.
And it's on one of my cable reels as you walk up the side yard as the garden. And it survived 2 or 3 winters outside. It's in a pot still, and it's growing really well.
That's a really good plant, and I'm glad you've mentioned that, actually, because they do tolerate a bit of damp as well. Although they are hardy, and they look great, and they get big, and they bulk out, and they do look. There's nothing more exotic looking than an aloe,
so
is there?
Is that traditionally a houseplant though in the UK, rather than
I don't think
being
it's
outdoors all the time?
it's not grown as a houseplant.
Oh, so you can actually have that outdoors. For me, that looks like a tropical thing that should just be.
Yeah,
indoors.
no, it's more of a garden plant.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but they're great. They tolerate all sorts of sun, shade, damp ground, cold. Yeah, they're great. Really good plant.
And because it's tropical, obviously it does not enter my cottage garden. It sits on the side.
On the side looking in.
So what about So you've got some really cool like mirrors, lighting effects, different things that add those different elements to the garden.
Yeah.
In terms of lighting, what would you kind of suggest, or is it again trial and error for people?
I'm so glad we did the lighting, because I'm one of
Finishes
those.
it off, doesn't it,
Yeah,
nicely?
I'm one of those guys that wants. Well, I spend every hour I can in the garden, and the darker it gets, the more jungly it feels. It's quite eerie at times, isn't it? Especially when you've got the wildlife and the frogs and things jumping out of you if you're walking up there.
And you can hear the toads under the
Yeah,
boardwalks, can't you?
it does get quite vocal, doesn't it? So, yeah, lighting in your jungle garden is really, really important. Now, I've used festoons, and they're only little dim bulbs, but it's just enough, and we've got them around the perimeter and around the boardwalks, so that kind of follows you around.
Yeah.
But they're set at a level where they're about head height, eye height, which means everything above that in the dark is completely black, pitch black. You can't work out or see anything because the light is all below you. So, yeah, light your jungle garden, because it is. I know
it makes it that experience, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's so important.
Yeah.
You can do it with flame lights. You can use torches, things like that. We've got a bit of everything up there at the moment, but yeah, definitely light it.
Yeah. And
there is actually, we did a walkthrough video. It's not the greatest quality because it's one of our first videos we did, but it gives you an idea of the lighting in my jungle garden and how we've done it. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, cool. Just a question that we haven't written down, but what are you most excited about this year? Obviously, you've had it for 4 or 5 years now, developing really well. It must be at the point where there's not a lot you haven't tried or seen or things like that in your garden. What are you excited about this year?
Tons I've not tried and seen. I'm finding out plants every single day.
Yeah.
I'm just most excited. I mean, there's a few changes and there's a few cool plants that we're growing, and check back on those. I think I'm most excited about just sharing it with people again.
Yeah.
I just love people's reaction when they come to see it, or they see it online, or see photos and things. It's just makes me happy. Yeah. That's the main thing.
You'll be opening again this summer at some point, won't you?
Raising a bit of cash for the jungles.
So all in all, you would say to anyone that wants to do it, just give it a go. Yeah.
Give it a go. It's one of the cheaper. I mean, it can get really expensive, but I think it's one of the cheaper options of garden, isn't it? And they size up so quickly. So, you spend, say, 20 quid on a few colocasia bulbs. By the end of the summer, you've got huge great leaves, you've got 4 or 5 specimen plants, and you've got those forever then, because they just multiply, and you end up, it's just a great way to get going. And I think if you start with something like a colocasia or a Musa bastu, like the big leaved tropicals, one, they're more of a beginner plant, and two, when you first see that huge leaf, that's what makes you fall in love with the jungle garden. I think it was for me anyway. Yeah. Just those huge leaves, same as the tetrapanics. They're just mad plants. Yeah. And go big or go home.
Go big or go home, or go cottage,
or not.
And very lastly, when are you bringing my bananas back over to me that you've been looking after for all winter?
Yeah, talking of cottage gardening, you want your ensetes back, don't you? Yeah, that's going to be soon because the weather's starting to warm up in the southeast.
It's sort of plateauing a bit now, isn't it, in terms of
it's
temperature?
Still a little bit early. They're still going to be a little bit delicate to put out, but I reckon in another probably 3 weeks, 4 weeks, they can probably go out.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. I think hopefully, guys, you've had a little bit of advice there from someone that's done it for quite a few years now, and learnt a little bit about what can be done with a really relatively small or average UK garden in the temperatures that we have and the climate that we're in. It's always worth trying new things, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Please do look back on our other videos because there's lots of things that are connected to the one we've just talked about today, with regarding what Chris growing, what he's done in terms of his jungle tours. They're all on there as well. So do check our channel for more. Please subscribe. We will catch you again next week with some more long form content. Thanks for watching, guys. See you later.
See ya.